quickly cut across to the Russian side, Ms. Klemenko, and I want to bring Tatiana Kukhareva, senior journalist from Russia, who joins me on the show. Tatiana, what do you make of the negotiations that are happening right now between United States and Russia, point one, and point two? When Ukraine says it's unwilling to accept ceding any territory, the war will go on. How can there be peace, Tatiana?
Well, look, this is very simple. If Ukraine is not, not prepared to give any territory, then we can very much hear the position from coming out of Moscow. Foreign Minister Lavrov said yesterday that unless our conditions are met, the fighting will go on. So essentially, as the answer to your question, there will not be any peace until Ukraine recognizes the reality on the ground, especially when it comes to the most delusional part of the Ukrainian claims, which is Crimea.
Okay, so that's point one. You will not cede control of Crimea. What about places like Zaporizhia and Kherson? Is Russia holding on to that to return in exchange of Kursk whenever those negotiations take place? And what about the red line on Ukraine not joining NATO? Where does Russia stand on that now?
Well, look, the red line has not budged an inch. The red line was always there. And I'm not just talking about Crimea. I'm saying that this is the most ridiculous claim that the Ukrainian side has been making all this time. But the regions that in 2022 asked to join Russia, I don't believe that Moscow will ever, compromise anything on this territory and these people. It's not about territory, it's about the people, Russian-speaking people who asked to be protected. And when it comes to Kursk, I don't believe that Ukraine has that much to bargain right now, because just a couple of days ago, Russian troops have actually crossed into Ukraine in the Kursk region. So essentially, if, I'm not a military expert, I'm not a politician, I am a journalist, but as far as I remember, at least the tactics used during the World War II, that's what would happen. You would surround the troops and then you would liquidate them. I don't think that Ukraine has that much to offer in terms of any leverage it ever had when it came to the Kursk.
So is Russia indicating it will not cede any territory, whether it's Donetsk or Luhansk, that it already controlled, or major parts of it, before this conflict started, and the territories it's taken control of, Zaporizhia and Kherson, it will not let go of these two territories either?
I don't believe that there has been any indication from the Russian leadership that any of these territories would ever be conceded.
Okay. For the final word, I once again want to bring in Professor Brahmachalani. You heard the Russian side, you've heard the Ukrainian side. Professor Brahmachalani, what are options if US and Europe are not on the same page? Or does Europe, like you said, have no option but to fall in line? Because there are some who say, like President Zelensky, that Europe needs to form its own security forces. And you heard Ms. Klemenko say that they will survive with weapons from Ukraine or weapons from Europe and money that comes from Europe and Japan to carry this conflict forward.
Gaurav, the first thing to remember is that Trump's decision to extricate the US from the Ukraine war aligns with long-term American strategic interests. And as Biden himself acknowledged as president, that the only way out from this war is a negotiated settlement.
Yes.
That's exactly what Trump is seeking to achieve. By opening direct dialogue with Moscow, the Trump administration has demonstrated two things. One, its commitment to ending the war, and two, the marginal role that China plays in securing peace in Ukraine.
Yes.
The only nation that benefits from prolonging the war is China.
Absolutely.
In fact, the big winner from this war has been China. And prolonging the war will only ensure that China remains the big winner.
That's the big point that Europe needs to understand. But will Europe understand that point? President Trump understands that point. India understands that point. And that's why everybody is batting for peace and a negotiated settlement. We will continue to track developments on the story very, very closely.